Hi everyone! Welcome to For the Love of Stamping event. I'm just going to give you a second to get on. I'm going to go close my door. I forgot to do that. I am so happy to be here with you guys today, and I don't know if you know, this is a new thing for me, but today is Galentine's Day. So this is for all of you lovely ladies who want to show your care for one another. And I hope that all of us gal pals, I mean, I know probably some of us, but maybe some of our spouses or friends are into the big football game today, but hope that maybe we can have a reprieve and enjoy some time together here as well. So, oh dear, I'm going to see if I can put my thing on Do Not Disturb so that I am not going to get any calls while we're on here. There we go. Can someone let me know if you can hear me, or the screen is the right direction, everything is good? Give me a thumbs up or say, let me know you're here, and then we can get started. Hi, Donna. Welcome. Donna, can you hear me? Is everything good? All good. Awesome. Okay. Well, I don't want to keep you all here any longer than I need to, although I could stamp all day, and I'm very happy that you guys have decided to join me. So as you come on, make sure you let me know that you've watched. If you're watching the replay, that's awesome too. Just hashtag replay. Let me know that you've seen this so that I know what you're enjoying and what events you guys have been attending, and how I can better, serve you. Okay, so today you probably see over here on my left, I have got out my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, which is kind of hard to show. Hi, Mom. It's kind of hard to show here in the camera because it's kind of so big and bulky in comparison to my camera and my work surface here. But we are going to use that a little bit today for our first class. I usually try not to use it too much. I want to make sure that everybody has the tools they need to make the projects that I share with you here on my Facebook Lives. But this is such a fun tool that really does take your basic cards and crafts and scrapbooking pages, all of those things to the next level. So I want to share with you how to use that today for some of our projects. So the first project we're going to make actually is a lot of fun. We're going to do some heat embossing. We're going to do some dry embossing with our Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And I'm going to show you a fun technique called whitewashing. It's called the Whitewash Technique or whitewashing, however you want to put it. But it is absolutely stunning with this new stamp set in the moment. And I want to share that with you today. It's really, really easy, but it's really beautiful. And it actually looks really nice. Sorry, I'm all hung up on a chair here. It looks really nice with any kind of lined image. So you could use this with flowers. You could use this with so many different things. Today we're doing in the moment. So let me focus and let's get busy with that. So the first thing we're going to do here is I'm going to pull out an embossing folder. So these add texture to your paper is what they do. So I was busy making my project for our 4 o'clock class because, well, you know me, I'm not usually that far ahead of myself. So I didn't even realize what time it was. So I'm just getting out my supplies here. Okay, so let me get organized and then I can help you. So we do need a few tools or a few supplies here. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is I have a piece of white cardstock here, and I'm going to dry emboss this. Now, this piece of white, and I'll put all of this information for you over on my blog at www.sarahlynstamps.com. Probably you'll see it there tomorrow. It's not up there yet, obviously, or I'd ruin the supply or the surprise, and today is a busy day here with you all. So we are going to dry emboss this piece of white, which is 5 by 3 3/4. So the die that I have is one actually out of the annual catalog called Painted Texture 3D Embossing Folder. So let me show you how you do this. So you just simply take your piece of paper and put it inside of your dry embossing folder and close it like this. And then I'm going to see if you guys can see what I can see. Let me stand up here for a minute. So what you're going to do is it tells you here on your first plate what plates that you need. So for this one, you need a plate number 1 and you need a plate number 4, which is just gray like this. And this one you use only for embossing. And then you just run it through this machine. So it's going to jiggle here for a second, so I apologize. I'm trying to go slow so it doesn't jiggle you too much and make you all like, you know, after Sunday lunch sick. And that's all that there is to it. So now when we open this up, our piece of paper has all of the beautiful texture from the folder transferred to it. So it just adds a little bit of something special to our projects. Okay, let's move this out of the way. And we've got our painted texture, right? That's what I said, painted texture piece of white. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we are going to do some heat embossing. So some of you may be familiar with this and some of you may not. I have some Just Jade cardstock, and I am going to take the stamp out of the set that is this little reader here with her book and her puppy, and we're going to emboss this on white on the Just Jade cardstock. I'm also going to emboss in white on black a sentiment that says, "You're in my thoughts," and it's all out of that same In the Moment stamp set. Okay, so I'm going to do both of those at the same time. What you need for for heat embossing is a Versamark ink pad. You need your embossing powder. So I have white Stampin' Emboss powder, and you need a heat gun. You also need a piece of scrap paper. So I'm going to just move some of this out of the way because we need our paper underneath, and you'll see why. There's a lot of different ways you can do it. This is the way that I like to do it. So just with a scrap piece of paper that I folded in half. Okay, so I'm going to start with the black one. You just kind of juice it up. Now the Versamark, if you've watched my beginner stamp class number 3, was all about ink. And the Versamark ink is just a clear ink, so you can't see it, but it's a sticky ink. So it doesn't dry very fast, and it's going to stick the embossing powder to it. So you'll see in just a second here. So you don't have to really worry too much because it doesn't dry very fast. So there. Okay. Now we're going to take our embossing powder and we're going to just sprinkle this over top. And you can see how it sticks in there just like that, right? And then I just give it a little flick on the back to get off any excess. Static electricity likes to just kind of hold it on there a little bit. So I'm just going to brush off some of the stuff around it with my finger. Okay, and let's do the same to this one. This one you can see a little bit better because it's on the colored cardstock. And Versamark can also be used to do that. You can stamp just on there and it'll leave sort of a watermark on your paper. It's not only for embossing. Okay, so then what I do is I take my piece of paper that I've got folded and use it as a funnel to just funnel everything back into my container. Ta-da! Okay, let's set that aside. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to heat this. So bear with me, this gets a little bit noisy just for a second. Okay. And so I'm going to try to bring this up so you can see. It's very powdery right now, but as it starts to change, it'll turn into like a shiny white. Once my heat gun gets hot, it doesn't take very long at all. So there, you can see it starting to change. And then I'm going to grab the other one. So you can't do this with a blow dryer. The blow dryer is not hot enough, and it'll just blow around your embossing powder. It won't actually heat it. So you do have to have the right tools to do this technique. But you can see how easy it is. Okay, let me just take a look and make sure I got it all. Yeah. See, like literally in like about, I don't know, 30 seconds, we did all of that heating. So it's not really a big deal, but it does take a few seconds. Now, if you don't have embossing powder, you could also use your White Craft ink pad. It's not going to be quite as bold or as, and it's not going to have this really lovely glossy kind of raised finish on there either, but you absolutely could use that. Now my sentiment, I'm just going to cut it out with scissors. You can use your paper trimmer, of course, if you're more concerned about straight lines. But when it's just a little sentiment, I don't find that it shows that much. If it's not 100% straight, I always think it looks fine. So I'm just going to cut that to the size that I want. So just use a scrap and then cut it to whatever you need. put that to the side. And now this one, I'm actually going to cut a circle out of it. So again, I'm going to use my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and I'm going to use these layering circle dies, which I think are a staple for every crafter. They have a whole bunch of different sizes of circles to layer together, as well as, come on card, they also have some that have scalloped edges, but they're all different sizes as you see here, and the idea is that they layer on top of each other. So today I'm just going to use this largest. It is the flat circle, but it's the largest one in the package. Let me move my stuff out of the way. I need to get back my machine. So for cutting, you need to use different plates. And again, it tells you here, but as a refresher, you need your number 1 plate. You need your number 2 plate, which is just a thin white one. And then a clear number 3. You're going to put your project on top of that you want to cut. And the bumpy side goes down on your paper. Just like that. And you can use a little piece of tape or a Post-it note to hold your die in place if it's moving around on you. But once you get the knack, you'll kind of figure it out. And then again, you put the 3 plate on top and you just run it through. Oh my word, I've got like cards flying everywhere. I always try to set everything up so it looks so pretty, and then I just use my desk and everything falls apart. So, you know. All right, and that's all there is to it. So now we've got our image cut out in a circle. So you can see some of these things seem really intimidating on these machines and these different tools that we have. But once you've used them, they're not a big deal. They're actually a lot of fun. They make your crafting really easy and just give you a lot of different options of things you can do. Okay, so now I think we have all the components ready for our card. But what I want to show you is the whitewash technique. So has anyone ever seen this technique before? This is something new that I learned at a demonstrator event, I guess in the fall. And I've been dying to do it since, but I always have so many ideas that I can never quite get them all done. So what I'm using today are the watercolor pencils. This is the set number 1. We have 2 different sets. This is the number 1 set that contains a white pencil. So all we're going to do is color with our white pencil onto our paper. And the reason that I embossed it is because that it really does just kind of, it shows the difference between the 2 colors, where if you stamp it with your white craft ink, it's going to kind of blend together the white watercolor pencil with the ink. But anyways, let's just take a peek and see what this looks like. And you can really color any sections that you want. I'm going to actually just color the puppy here with my white pencil. And again, it might be rocking you a little bit, so I apologize. But you're literally just coloring with your white pencil. You can also do this with an aqua painter and some of the white craft ink. You can also color it with that as well, and that'll give you a nice white color. I'm just trying to decide. There's the puppy's leg. Which one is the puppy's leg? So I'm going to color him, and I'm not going to color all of the image in. I'm going to leave some of it still the jade, just jade green. And so this technique works best with a darker color. Something that you're going to notice. Sorry, that banging is all of my stamping blends rocking around. If you can hear that. Okay, and I'm going to color the book. I'm going to color her little mug here. I didn't actually know that was a mug yesterday when I made this. And I'm going to color underneath of her just to kind of, what I'm trying to do is color sort of around the girl so that she kind of stands out, if that makes any sense. I'll color all of this stuff and then she's left sort of in the negative. But you could also do it the opposite way. And I'll show you my project that I did as my demo yesterday, and it's kind of the opposite. So I'm going to color the pillows behind her. That's really up to you how much you want to color. But this is called whitewashing. And I don't know if they call it whitewashing because you normally use the ink with some water or whatnot, but I don't know. That's the name of it. Oopsies. So there we go. I feel like we need some more on this side, so I might just color this. This is a part of her blanket. There, I think that looks nice. So now we have the girl kind of standing out in the background with her arm and all of that. Doesn't that look pretty? I love it. I think it's really, really nice. Does it show up in the camera? Can you guys have a good look at what that looks like? Let's see. Can you see? Isn't that pretty? Yeah, and the darker the paper, the more the whitewash is going to show up, and it's just really, really stunning. I love this so much, this technique. Now we're going to add to our piece of painted texture, and yeah, Mom, this is a really, really nice dry embossing folder. It adds so much texture to your paper. It's very, very kind of bold, but soft. Oh, I don't know how to explain it. It's bold, but it doesn't just kind of scream out in your face. I think because it doesn't have so many lines. I'm using liquid glue today because I decided that if I make a mistake, it's easier to fix it. So, you know, when you're on camera, you got to account for those things. So I'm just adding a piece of, this paper is, I wrote this down, Bloom Where You're Planted. So this is from the Bloom Where You're Planted designer series paper. On one side, it has a lot of green plants and stuff, and on the other side, it's a lot of these sort of natural kind of textured looks. So I've got a piece of that measures, what? I didn't even measure that. Let's see. It measures 1 3/4 by 3 3/4. Yep. 1 3/4 by 3 3/4. And I've just put that onto the left here. I'm going to adhere that to a piece of fresh freesia, which it maybe is not a color combination that you would typically go to, the Just Jade and fresh freesia, but it looks stunning together. It looks really, really nice. So I'm going to add some more liquid glue here on the back. So just a tip with the liquid glue, you really don't need as much as you think you need. Like when you're thinking about your Elmer's glue that you use for school, you really just need, if you can see it on there, you've got enough, otherwise it's going to squeeze out. And when you store your glue, I always store it upside down like this, kind of in my pen holder. Otherwise it's really kind of hard to get going. Okay, so we're going to, hold on, let me grab my silicone craft sheet here. I feel like I'm going to get glue everywhere, so let's just do it this way. So the silicone craft sheet just keeps your glue, it doesn't stick, so then it's easy to clean up and it won't make your project stick to the paper underneath. Okay. I've got a piece of Just Jade for my card base. I need to fold that in half. And you can score that with your trimmer if you'd like. I'm just going to give it a little fold here and then use my bone folder to give it a nice burnishing. We're going to add some more glue to the back of this fresh freesia. I've got 2 projects to share with you at this class, or at this, I don't know what we're calling it. Is it a class? At this event, this 2 o'clock showing, at the 2 o'clock showing, I have 2 cards to share with you. So, all right, let's set that aside. So I kind of offset my fresh freesia and my white piece. You could line them up if you wanted them square with the fresh freesia behind. I did cut the fresh freesia just a tiny bit bigger at 5 1/8 by 3 7/8. So you could use it as a layer underneath of your white as well if you wanted to. Okay, I'm going to add this lady on here, my little reader with some Stampin' Dimensionals. And I know I've mentioned this before, but I honestly think that the dimensionals are a crafter's #1 tool for kind of adding special interest to your cards. Just putting sort of something up off of the top, so that's not 100% on your card, 100% flat, sorry, makes all of the difference in the finished product of your card. So these are really, really economical, but really are a smart way to take your cards up a step. And then I'm going to just stick this, and I need to move this over a little bit. We need to account for the fact that this end here is going to kind of overlap, so you want to put your dimensional a little bit over. And I didn't do that at first. Okay, and you can flag this if you want to. There you go. And the last thing I'm going to do on this card is, of course, add some beautiful jewels. These are the In Color 2021-2023 jewels. And I think that these soft succulent ones here actually look really nice with the Just Jade. So I'm going to take my Take a Pick tool so I can see where I'm going. And you just kind of pick up your embellishment by sticking it at the bottom, kind of like that. This is your putty end. And I'm going to put another one down here. So just like that, that's our first project. What do you think? Do you like that color combination? It is a little unique, but I just think it's really kind of, it's fun. It's something different. It's sort of cheerful. And what about, do you think you'll try this whitewash technique? Yeah, I really like it. So, okay. Let me show you the second project. The second project I'm going to show you today is using our blending brushes and we're going to do some paper piecing. So you may have seen me do some paper piecing before. I'm going to just kind of move my last project out of the way here. Give me 1 second. But this one is paper piecing. And it is another really great way to help your images to stand out on your project. So we're going to go ahead and do that with our second project here. Okay, I just got to get all my stuff here. I've got some ink pads for this one. I need a scrap piece of paper to do our blending with. But before we do that, we are going to cut out our piece of white with our Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine again. Okay. Try not to show you the card before we do it. Okay, so our second one here is we're going to... I just dropped everything. We are going to cut out our scalloped with our scalloped contour dies. These are some of my favorite ones for creating layers. We are going to use that, and again with our die cutting sheets that we talked about last time. And I'm missing one. Anybody know where I put the other one? Well, we can't die cut without the other folder. Let me just see what I did with it. Well, I don't know where it went. I managed to drop everything. Oh, there it is. Okay. But I do have some old ones. All right, it went all the way across the room. Okay. So out of here, bear with me, you guys. You know how this goes, that on Sarah Lynn Stamps, I make all of the mistakes, so you don't have to. I mean, I just try to make y'all feel really good about your crafting and go, oh boy, this girl is a disaster. I could do that. Like, for real. All right. So we've got the scalloped border here. Looks like this. Again, we're going to put this bumpy side down onto the paper. I'm going to layer it between my two number 3 sheets and run it through my machine. Okay. Just going to make a little bit of a click, and there we go. Okay. So now we have this beautiful die cut scallop border with this little imprint here around the edge to make this really pretty frame. So we're going to go ahead and use that today for our next card. So blending brushes are something new that came out in the last catalog and are really, really popular. Something they just continually seem to sell out. But they are in stock currently, and they are a lot of fun and really easy to use. Okay, so what I'm going to do is literally I'm just going to take a few different colors. I'm going to start with the lightest color, which is Coastal Cabana, and I'm going to just pop that open. And I have brushes. I kind of use a different brush for each color family. So I have one for blues, one for yellows, one for reds, that kind of thing. And you just kind of swirl it on your ink pad. And then you want to start off your paper or that you're trying to blend if possible. Otherwise, you're going to end up with like little circles. And you're going to just kind of go across. You can swirl it around, but you kind of want to start and stop off of your paper. Now mine is a little bit mixed up in the color, I can see, because I used this last night for a night of navy. So it's a little bit darker than Coastal Cabana, but that's okay. So we're just going to do this until we get sort of the saturation that we want on our paper. And we can come back and do some more after. All right, so the next color I'm going to do is the Bermuda Bay, which actually is darker. That's okay. We're going to do the same. I'm just going to use the same blue brush that I was using before, and I'm going to just put this in here. So I'm just trying to add different colors of blue to the background of this paper. I'm going to take this one down just a little bit farther and blend it up so that my colors can kind of overlap, but we're not really going to see that harsh line. And once we stamp on here, it's going to kind of bring this blended background to life. So you'll notice I put another piece of scrap here, mostly just because I'm on camera, and then you guys, I can remove it and you guys can see what I'm doing. And then I've got Night of Navy here, which has a little bit of a purple tone to it. Of course, Yeah, see? Anyways, we're gonna just add some of this into the bottom. And if you got a little bit of white in here, that's okay. That's kind of like our water to sky line a little bit. You can blend that up as much as you want or as little as you want to. It's really up to you. Okay, so there we go. I think I'm happy with that. I don't think I want any more dark at the bottom. So I'm gonna just leave it as is. I am gonna add a tiny bit of yellow to the top, just so that it looks like a little bit of sunshine in the corner there. So I've got my yellow brush out, and I'm gonna just do the same. And then I'm going to just add a little bit of yellow up here at the top. So it looks like the sun is kind of peeking through somewhere. Okay, so that's what we're going to do with our blending. So really the thing with blending is to start off and off your paper and like kind of start and stop off your paper. Don't just take your brush and start right in the middle, because you're going to end up with little blotches in there, if at all possible. If you're only doing the middle, then you just kind of want to start really light and get a little bit firmer as you go, so that you can not get those little marks on there. Okay, so we have done our blending. How easy was that? Super easy. I'm going to use this same paper here, actually. And what we're going to do now is our paper piecing. And I've got Memento black ink here. And I'm going to stamp this image of this girl that is at the pier. I'm going to stamp her twice. So I'm going to stamp her one towards the bottom of our card, like that. And then I'm going to stamp her again onto this pattern paper. And you could use any kind of pattern paper that you like that coordinates with the colors that you choose. Okay, so Memento is done. I'm going to just stamp her right on there, just like that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to cut her out of here, and I'm going to cut around the outside of the black image. So there is a little bit of cutting involved in here, but it's really worth it. And what we're going to end up with is a girl with a pattern dress, and it's really going to pop off of our background, because the background is all, I guess, darker. So by doing this, we're going to have her pop off. Now I'm trying to decide. So what you could do is we could mask off, meaning we would do this exact same thing, except we would cut out the whole girl, mask it off before we brushed it, so that we're left with a white image in the background. Then you're not going to have blue arms, etc., etc. But since I've got kind of a white piece of paper here, I might just actually cut out her arms and her hat. Yesterday, when I did this, all I did was I just cut, or I colored over top of the blue. And you know what? It worked out okay. But let's start with a piece of white. The only challenge with this is I'm getting in between the arms and the hair. And that's why I kind of wasn't going to do this. But let's try it. Let's see. We can always cut it off after. So I'm going around the black. I find it better. You could trim on the inside of the black. I just think that it looks a little bit better when you, then you end up without any gap sort of between what you've cut and the image on there, because it's going to lay, if you cut a little bit wider, it's going to lay over top of the black part that you've stamped and not leave sort of empty spaces, if that makes any sense. You know what? I don't think I can do that. I'm going to end up with all these little pieces in here, and that's going to drive me mental. Okay, let's just cut her off just like I said I was going to do. So I'm going to just cut her dress out, which is sort of what I intended to do in the first place, because I'm not going to be able to cut out those little pieces. And then I'm going to just cut off the bottom, cut off her arm. If you're really good at cutting into these little sections, you could totally do this, but nobody got time for that today. But I am going to maybe leave her hat and her hair. We'll go with that. Okay, so we have cut her out just like that. And I'm going to color her with some Stampin' blends. Now, I don't know if you noticed, Stampin' Up has just come out with a whole range of neutral shades. So these are a few of the ones that are in there. You can buy them as sets. So the idea is to just be more reflective of all the different colors of skin that there are in the world. Rather than before, we were kind of limited. We only had ivory and bronze, and you could kind of blend them a little bit to get different tones. But now we have all the way from light to dark, this is only a portion of what there are. So all of these are part of the neutral blends. And again, they come in pack of 2, just like the other ones do. So, but these ones are numbered. So you would have, this is 200, 300, etc., etc. So anyways, we're going to use these ones today. I'm going to use these to color her hair and her skin, etc. All right. So I don't even remember what I did yesterday. So we're going to just wing it, people. We're going to wing it. She's going to have a brown hat. I'm going to just color over top of the paper. And again, if you didn't have white paper, like I just happened to have the pattern as being white because I wanted it to really pop, you could just cut the hat separately, like stamp it again and then cut it separately on a different piece of paper. You could do it that way too, if you didn't mask that off. And then I'm going to just take a slightly darker one here and just add a tiny bit of shading in here. You could use markers for this too because they're really not that big of spaces, so the blending isn't as important in little spaces. Okay. All right, so we've got a hat colored. I'm going to do a nice bright belt with Granny Apple Green. And then just to make this, I'm just going to add a little more color on this side here. Now your blends are going to bleed through your paper, so make sure you have a scrap underneath when you're doing this. And then her hair is going to be, I don't remember which one I've used now. Let's see. Trying to make them different colors so they aren't all the same color. But anyways, that's going to be her hair. Okay, so let's stick her on with some glue. So this is kind of a favorite technique for putting clothes and stuff on people or animals, but also looks really nice for if you saw the car set. What is that car called? Driving By, that's out of Celebration. It looks really cute. You can make your cars really retro, and so there's lots of different ways you can use this paper piecing. This is just one of them. So now you see what I mean by you could have masked off her arms and then her arms wouldn't be blue-green, but I think it looks fine. Okay, and I am going to take a little bit of red here and I'm going to color in her juice. And then I'm going to just take this chalk marker, is what I did yesterday. And then I colored in her, where her arms were. I think my chalk marker is kind of dead. Yeah, it definitely is. If you had colored over this first with a chalk marker, then your blends would show up to whatever color you wanted them to be. But my chalk marker appears to not be coloring. Anyways, I'm going to try and color a little bit of color on her arms. Now the reason we stamp in Memento is because it's not going to blend with our coloring. So you can see that you can kind of color over top with your blends over top of the ink that we blended on there, but it doesn't give you a really true color. So, and let's take some brown and color our fence. Okay, that is our coloring and our blending. Okay, let's start putting our card together. Actually, I need to stamp one more thing. Where's my sentiment? I'm going to stamp the sentiment that says, "You're always so good to others, be good to yourself too." I'm going to stamp that in Night of Navy. Just up here in the top corner. Just like that. Okay, let's start putting our card together. Okay, so we've got a piece of Night of Navy. This is going to be our card base. Hi, Joelle, welcome. I'm glad you could join us. And I'm going to fold that in half and score that with my bone folder. And I have cut a couple strips of Bumblebee. I did cut two. I have one now. Oh, it's in the garbage. Okay. These measure 1 inch by 4 1/4. So they're going to go across our card front and they're 1 inch wide. Okay, so we're going to add some glue. And we're going to just stick these on like this. I'm going to kind of put them a little bit towards the bottom just so, I don't know, I just didn't want them to be exactly in the middle. To me, it looked nicer this way, offset a little bit. And then for this one, we're going to, again, add some dimensionals on here. I like to put 1 in each corner and then 1 in the middle to hold it up so you don't end up with a saggy center. It will sag over time, I promise you. And then we're going to just stick this on like so, just in the front of our card. And there is our beautiful lady at the pier. All right, let's take a look at the projects we made today at our first session here. So we have our whitewashing technique here with the little reader lady. We've got some blending with our blending brushes, and then the paper piecing technique here that we colored with our Stampin' Blends. So I hope you enjoyed these ones. I did want to mention at 4 o'clock, we are going to be back here. Hopefully you'll join me for a fun fold. Actually, we're going to make a kite card. So it's something I've never made before. Well, I've made it now, but I've never shown it to you previously. So this is going to be a fun one. There are a few different steps, and I will be posting shortly the supplies for mystery stamping tonight. So if you're wanting to join, if you're not familiar with mystery stamping, what that is, everyone's invited. You use the supplies from your stash. Everybody will have different things. I will walk you through various steps to create your card. For example, I will say you need this size of paper, and then I'll say add this piece of paper to the card front, etc., layer it on here. And we all end up with a little bit of a different project at the end based on the supplies that we have. So it's quite fun and enjoyable for everyone, I think. I think everyone really likes it. We missed it last month, so I was really eager to get out here and do mystery stamping with you guys again. But anyway, so at 4 o'clock, join me here for a fun fold, the kite card. And then at 7 o'clock tonight, we have mystery stamping. So I will see you at 4 o'clock. Thank you for joining me. Bye.